You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server computer that has 5 hard disks. 4 100 GB hard disks on the server are configured as a single stripe volume. You want to reconfigure the 4th disk so that the volume is fault tolerant and has as much space possible available for storing data. You want to use only existing hardware. What should you do? A. Convert the disk to dynamic disk shutdown and restart the server. B. Backup the data on the stripe volume and delete the stripe volume. Create a RAIDs volume on the 4 disks. Restore the data to the new RAID 5 volume. C. Backup the data on the stripe volume and delete the stripe volume. Create a mirror volume shutdown and restart the server. Restore the data to new mirror volumes. D. Backup the data on the stripe volume and delete the stripe. The correct answer is backup the data on the stripe volume and delete the stripe volume. Create a RAIDs volume on the 4 disks. Restore the data to the new RAID 5 volume. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server network that runs in mixed mode. You install a new Windows 2000 server computer. You create and share a new HP LaserJet 4L printer. Your Windows 2000 professional client computers can print to the new printer successfully. However, when users try to connect to the printer from Windows NT Workstation 4.0 client computers, they receive the dialog box shown in the exhibit. The server on which the printer resides does not have a suitable HP LaserJet printer driver installed. You want the printer driver to be installed automatically on the Windows NT Workstation computers. What should you do? A. Copy the Windows NT 4.0 printer drivers to the net logon shared folders on all Windows NT Server 4.0 computers still configured as BDCs. B. Copy the Windows NT 4.0 printer drivers to the net logon shared folder on the PDC emulator. C. Change the sharing options on the printer to install additional drivers for Windows NT 4.0 or Windows 2000. D. Copy the Windows NT 4.0 printer drivers to the Win System 32 pre-liter S drivers folder on the Windows 2000 print server. The correct answer is change the sharing options on the printer to install additional drivers for Windows NT 4.0 or Windows 2000. Your company's network includes Windows 3.1 client computers, Windows 95 client computers, and Windows 2000 professional client computers. The company's manufacturing facilities run 24 hours per day. The company has developed its own 32-bit application that collects information from the manufacturing process so that workers on one shift can find out that was manufactured during the previous shift. The company wants to make the application available on all of the client computers by using terminal service on a Windows 2000 server computer. This server will not run as a domain controller. You install terminal services. The Information Technology IT department needs to be able to remote control users' sessions to support and troubleshoot the application. What should you do to enable the IT department to control users' sessions? A. Configure the terminal server to run in remote administration mode. B. Grant the IT department full control permission to the Remote Desktop Protocol RDP on the terminal server. C. Add the members of the IT department to the Power Users group on the terminal server. D. Use third-party software to enable remote control of users' sessions. The correct answer is grant the IT department full control permission to the Remote Desktop Protocol RDP on the terminal server. You are the administrator of contoso.local domain. You organize the domain into organizational units as shown in the exhibit. You configure the local security options and other settings for the default domain policy object. You delegate administration of Michigan and Florida OU. You want to prevent those administrators from creating any other group policy objects with settings that conflict with those you configured. What should you do? A. From the group policy options from the contoso.local domains, set the option not override. B. From the group policy options from the Michigan and Florida OU, set the option not override. C. Block the group policy inheritance for the contoso.local domain. D. Block the group policy inheritance for Michigan and Florida OU. The correct answer is from the group policy options from the contoso.local domains, set the option not override. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server computer. The server contains one network adapter and is a file and print server for critical company resources. You install a second network adpater in the server and connect it to the same network subnet as the first adapter. You want to ensure that the first adapter is used for all network traffic and the second adapter is used only if the first adapter fails or is disconnected from the network. You also want to ensure that the server always has network connectivity even if one network adapter fails. What should you do? A. Set the second adapter's status to disable. B. Configure the first adapter to use a TCP IP metric of 100. C. Configure the second adapter to use a TCP IP metric of 25. D. Configure the binding order on the second adapter to bind TCP IP last. The correct answer is configure the second adapter to use a TCP IP metric of 25. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 domain that has 3 domain controllers. Each day you use Windows Backup to perform full backups of each domain controller. You run a script to make changes to account information in Active Directory. As a result of errors in the script, the incorrect user accounts are modified. Active Directory replication then replicates the changes to the other 2 domain controllers. You want to revert Active Directory to the version that was backed up the previous day. What should you do? A. On a single domain controller, use Windows Backup to restore the system state data. Shut down and restart the computer. B. Shut down and restart a single domain controller in Directory Services Restore mode. Use Windows Backup to restore the system state data. Run the NTFS utility. Restart the computer. C. Shut down and restart a single domain controller by using the recovery console. Use Windows Backup to restore the system state data. Exit the recovery console. Restart the computer. D. Shut down and restart each domain controller by using the recovery console. Use Windows Backup to restore the sysvol folder. Exit the recovery console. Restart the computer. The correct answer is shut down and restart a single domain controller in Directory Services Restore mode. Use Windows Backup to restore the system state data. Run the NTFS utility. Restart the computer. Your network uses TCP/IP as the only network protocol. Devices on the network are configured to use IP address from the private 10.0.0.0 range. All the client computers on the network runs Windows 2000 Professional. The network includes Windows 2000 server computers and Unix servers. Users' print jobs are sent to shared printers on a Windows 2000 server computer named printserve that directs the print jobs to print devices attached directly to the network. You have a high-capacity print device that is attached to one of the Unix servers. The Unix computer uses the LPR printing protocol and its IP address is 10.1.1.99. The name of the printer queue is Giant. You want users to be able to connect to this printer from their computers. What should you do? A. Install Microsoft Print Services for Unix on PrintServe. Create a network printer on users' computers and specify that the printer URL is LPR 10.1.1.99 Giant. B. Install Microsoft Print Services for Unix on users' computers. Create a network printer and specify that the printer name is 10.1.1.99 Giant. C. Create a network printer on PrintServe and specify that the printer name is 16.1.1.99 Giant. Share this printer and connect to it from users' computers. D. Create a local printer on PrintServe. Create a new TCP IP port for an LPR server at address 10.1.1.99 with a queue name of Giant. Share this printer and connect to it from users' computers. The correct answer is: create a local printer on PrintServe. Create a new TCP IP port for an LPR server at address 10.1.1.99 with a queue name of Giant. Share this printer and connect to it from users' computers. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server computer. The server hosts several websites that have logging enabled. You use a third-party reporting utility to analyze the log files produced by the websites. You notice that all data from 7:00 p.m. to midnight each night is included in the following day's log file. You want all data to be included in the correct day's log file. What should you do? A. Ensure that the log type is set to W3C. B. Change the log rollover property in the website's logging properties. C. Change the time zone setting in the time properties on the web server. D. Configure the time service on the web server to use local system account. The correct answer is: change the log rollover property in the website's logging properties. You are the administrator responsible for security and user desktop settings on your network. You need to configure a custom registry entry for all users. You want to add the custom registry entry into a Group Policy Object GPO with the least amount of administrative effort. What should you do? A. Configure an ADM template and add the template to the GPO. B. Configure an INF policy and add the policy to the GPO. C. Configure a Microsoft Windows installer package and add the package to the GPO. D. Configure RIS to include the registry entry. The correct answer is: configure an ADM template and add the template to the GPO. You want to provide complete redundancy for all data stored on your hardware RAID 5 array. You install second HW RAID 5. You want to create a mirror set of the original array. However, when you right-click the free space on new array, you see no option to create a new volume or mirrored volume. What should you do? A. Convert both to dynamic disks. B. Create an empty extended partition on new disk. C. Create a single unformatted primary partition on new array. D. Format new disk array as a single NTFS primary partition. The correct answer is: convert both to dynamic disks. Computer accounts and user accounts in your domain have been separated into or used for administrative purpose. You want to require strong passwords for the local user accounts only. What should you do? A. Set a group policy on each local computer to enable the passwords must meet complexity requirements policy. B. Set a group policy on the domain to enable the passwords must meet complexity requirements policy. C. Set a group policy on all OUs containing computer accounts to enable the passwords must meet complexity requirements policy. D. Set a group policy on all OUs containing user accounts to enable the passwords must meet complexity requirements policy. The correct answer is set a group policy on each local computer to enable the passwords must meet complexity requirements policy. You are the network administrator for your company. Mike Nash is a member of the administration group and Nate Sun is a member of the intern group. Both groups are in the same domain. On the intranet server, the administration group is placed in the security group and the intern group is placed in the non-security group. The security group is then granted full control permission for the sales virtual directory. Nate needs to update new sales information that is located on the sales virtual directory. What should you do so that Nate can perform this task? A. Enable anonymous access for the intranet server. B. Enable anonymous access for the sales virtual directory. C. Remove Nate from the intern group. D. Make Nate a member of the security group. The correct answer is make Nate a member of the security group. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server computer that has one hard disk. This computer runs a custom application that writes a large number of small temporary files in a single directory to support requests from client computers. To improve performance of the application, you add 3 new 100 GB SCSI disks to the server to hold these temporary files. You want to ensure that the application can use all 300 GB of space with a single drive letter. You also want to ensure the fastest possible performance when writing the temporary files. How should you configure the 3 disks? A. Convert all 3 disks to dynamic disks. Create a striped volume. B. Convert all 3 disks to dynamic disks. Create a RAID 5 volume. C. Create a single volume on each of the 3 disks. Format each volume as NTFS. Mount the roots of disk 2 and disk 3 in the root folder of disk 1. D. Create a single volume on disk 1. Format the volume as NTFS. Extend the volume to create a spanned volume that includes the space on all 3 disks. The correct answer is convert all 3 disks to dynamic disks. Create a striped volume. You have configured a Group Policy Object GPO for the Marketing Organization Unit OU to prevent users from accessing My Network places and from running System in Control Panel. You want the manager's domain local group to be able to access My Network places, but you still want to prevent them from running System in Control Panel. What should you do? A. Add the managers group to the access control list of the GPO. Disable the permission of the managers group to read and apply the group policy. B. Add the managers group to the access control list of the GPO. Deny the permission of the managers group to read and apply the group policy. C. Create a second GPO in the OU. Add the managers group to the access control list. Allow the managers group to apply the group policy. Deny the authenticated users group permission to read and apply the group policy. Configure the new GPO to deny the ability to run System Control Policy Panel. Give the original GPO a higher priority than the new GPO. D. Create a second GPO in the OU. Add the managers group to the access control list. Allow the managers group to apply the group policy. Disable the authenticated users group permission to read and apply the group policy. Configure the new GPO to allow access to My Network places. Give the original GPO a higher priority than the new GPO. The correct answer is create a second GPO in the OU. Add the managers group to the access control list. Allow the managers group to apply the group policy. Disable the authenticated users group permission to read. You installed the routing and remote access service on a Windows 2000 server computer in your network. Your network is not directly connected to the Internet and uses the private IP address range 192.168.0.0. When you use routing and remote access to dial into the server, your computer connects successfully, but you are unable to access any resources. When you try to ping servers by using their IP addresses, you receive the following message: request timed out. When you run the ipconfig command, it shows that your dial-up connection has been given the IP address 169.254.75.182. What should you do to resolve the problem? A. Configure the remote access server with the address of a DHCP server. B. Authorize the remote access server to receive multiple addresses from a DHCP server. C. Configure the remote access server to act as a DHCP relay agent. D. Ensure that the remote access server is able to connect to a DHCP server that has a scope for its subnet. The correct answer is: ensure that the remote access server is able to connect to a DHCP server that has a scope for its subnet. You configure your Windows 2000 server as a print server. You install a second PnP Network adapter to improve the performance. The first adapter uses IRQII and the second adapter uses IRQII. The server is now unable to print devices connected to a non-PnP LPT2 port adapter. You want to continue to use the print devices connected to your print server. What should you do? A. Use Device Manager to change the IRQ for LPT1 to IRQ10. B. Use Device Manager to change the IRQ for LPT2 to IRQ7. C. Edit the CMOS setting of the server's BIOS to reserve IRQ7 for non-PnP devices. D. Edit the CMOS setting of the server's BIOS to reserve IRQ5 for non-PnP devices. The correct answer is: edit the CMOS setting of the server's BIOS to reserve IRQ5 for non-PnP devices. Your computer has a mirrored volume and you wish to now install the recovery console for future troubleshooting. How do you do this? A. Reinstall Windows. This can only be applied during the installation. B. Break the mirror. Run XI386 winant32.xcons. Re-establish the mirror. C. Run XI386 winant32.xcons. D. Run the add and remove programs and add the recovery console. The correct answer is: break the mirror. Run XI386 winant32.xcons. Re-establish the mirror. Your Windows 2000 server computer uses a non-plug and play ISA modem configured to use IRQ5. You add a PCI modem and restart the computer. Device Manager reports an IRQ conflict between the two modems. Both modems are trying to use IRQ5. You want to resolve the problem. What should you do? A. Use Device Manager to change the IRQ for the original modem to IRQ9. B. Use Device Manager to change the IRQ for the original modem to IRQ10. C. Edit the CMOS settings on the computer to reserve IRQ5 for non-plug and play devices. D. Edit the CMOS settings on the computer to reserve IRQ10 for non-plug and play devices. The correct answer is: edit the CMOS settings on the computer to reserve IRQ5 for non-plug and play devices. Your network contains NetWare 4.0 servers. You have successfully installed client service for NetWare on Windows 2000 professional computers and gateway service for NetWare on Windows 2000 server computers. You recently added a new Windows 2000 server computer to the network and installed gateway service for NetWare on it. However, the server is unable to connect to any NetWare servers. What should you do on the new Windows 2000 server computer to resolve this problem? A. Enable NWLink NetBIOS. B. Configure the NWLink IPX SPX NetBIOS compatible transport protocol to use the correct Ethernet frame type. C. Install RIP routing for IPX. D. Install the SAP agent. The correct answer is configure the NWLink IPX SPX NetBIOS compatible transport protocol to use the correct Ethernet frame type. You install Internet Information Services 5.0 on a computer running Windows 2000 server. You create two new department websites for the Human Resources and Sales departments. You use host headers to define these two new sites. You stop the sales website while a developer updates the contents of the site. If a user attempts to access the sales site while it is stopped, what response will the user receive? A. The user will be redirected to an alternate default page for the sales site's home directory. B. The user will be redirected to the default website home page. C. The user will receive a 403.2 read access forbidden error message. D. The user will receive a 404 file not found error message. The correct answer is the user will be redirected to the default website home page. You have a machine with 2 hard disks and you add an extra 100 GB hard disk for a specific client-server application to run on because the application gets very slow returning query data. You want to have the fastest possible access for the client-server app to the HDDs. Which RAID should you apply? A. RAID 0. B. RAID 1. C. RAIDs. D. RAID 2. The correct answer is RAID 0. You are the administrator of a Windows 2000 server computer. The server has a single hard disk with a single NTFS partition. You use a third-party tool to add a new partition to the disk. When you restart the server, you received the following error message: Windows 2000 could not start because the following file is missing or corrupt system32toscanal.x. Please reinstall a copy of the above file. What should you do to resolve the problem? A. Start the computer by using the recovery console. Run System File Checker. B. Start the computer by using the recovery console. Modify the partition parameter in the operating system path in cboot.ini. C. Start the emergency repair process. Choose the option to repair system files. D. Start the computer in safe mode with command prompt. Modify the partition parameter in the operating system path in cboot.ini. The correct answer is start the computer by using the recovery console. Modify the partition parameter in the operating system path in cboot.ini. You are a network administrator for your company. The company is currently configuring its branch offices with a Windows 2000 server computer at each office. Each branch office has a technical support department but not a network administrator. You want to configure the remote Windows 2000 server computers so that whenever a new Microsoft driver becomes available, the branch offices are notified automatically when the administrator logs onto the server. What should you do? A. Install the Windows 2000 Resource Kit. B. Install Windows Critical Update Notification. C. Configure System File Checker to notify the branch offices. D. Configure Windows File Protection to notify the branch offices. The correct answer is install Windows Critical Update Notification. Some applications on your company network use defined domain user accounts as their service accounts. Each computer that runs one of these applications should have the respective service account in the local administrators group. Currently you individually place these service accounts in the local administrators group on the appropriate Windows 2000 professional computers. You need to centralize this process. What should you do? A. Add the application's service accounts to the domain administrator group. B. Add the application's service accounts to the local administrator group. Use the restricted groups option in each computer's local group policy. C. Add the application's service accounts to the local administrator group. Use the restricted groups option in an OU group policy. D. Add the application's service accounts to the local administrator group. Use the restricted groups option in a domain group policy. The correct answer is: add the application's service accounts to the local administrator group. Use the restricted groups option in an OU group policy. How can you recreate the PTR record in your Windows 2000 DNS server from your Windows 2000 client? A. Run ipconfig registerdns from the client. B. Run ipconfig all registerdns from the DNS server. C. Start the DNS dynamic service on your client computer. D. Create a host file with the dynamic command on the client computer. The correct answer is: run ipconfig registerdns from the client. You want to provide internet access for the clients on your network. You decide to use Network Address Translation NAT. You have a Windows 2000 computer. You try to establish a secure virtual private networking session with. You try connecting to the remote Windows 2000 computer using L2TP. You are unable to establish a connection with the remote node using L2TP. You are able to make a connection with another computer in your same office. Why are you unable to make a connection to the remote location? A. NAT does not allow for remote networking. B. L2TP does not work with Windows 2000 computers. C. You cannot establish a L2TP connection behind a computer running NAT. The L2TP session fails because the IP security packets become corrupted. D. You have not configured the NAT server to translate the IP security packets. The correct answer is: you cannot establish a L2TP connection behind a computer running NAT. The L2TP session fails because the IP security packets become corrupted. You are configuring a Windows 2000 server computer as a routing and remote access server for a branch office. You discovered that an incorrect driver was installed during the installation of the modem. You attempt to remove the modem by using Phone and Modem Options in Control Panel. After each attempt to remove the modem by using this method, the computer stops responding. You restart the computer again. You must install the correct driver for the modem as quickly as possible. What should you do? A. Use the Add Remove Hardware wizard to uninstall the modem. Restart the server. B. Shut down the server, remove the modem card, and restart the server. Shut down the server again, insert the modem card, and restart the server. C. Delete all references to modems in the registry. D. Run the modem troubleshooter and remove the modem when prompted. Restart the server. The correct answer is: use the Add Remove Hardware wizard to uninstall the modem. Restart the server. You want to improve the TCP transmission speed of a Windows 2000 server computer. You also want to remove an unused registry key. You use regedit 32 to edit the registry of the Windows 2000 server. You insert a value in the registry named window size and you remove the unused key. You restart the computer but the computer stops responding before the logon screen appears. You want to return the computer to its previous configuration. What should you do? A. Restart the computer in safe mode. Then restart the computer again. B. Restart the computer by using the recovery console. Run the fixboot C command and then run the exit command. C. Restart the computer by using the recovery console. Run the enable winlogon service auto start command and then run the exit command. D. Restart the computer by using the last known good configuration. The correct answer is restart the computer by using the last known good configuration. Your network consists of Windows 2000 file servers, Windows 2000 print servers, Windows 2000 professional computers, Windows 2000 file servers. You must prevent any unsigned drivers from being installed on any computer in your Windows 2000 network. What should you do? A. Configure a group policy for the domain that blocks all unsigned drivers. B. Configure a group policy for the default domain controller to block all unsigned drivers. C. Configure the Windows 2000 file servers, Windows 2000 print servers, Windows 2000 professional computers, and Windows 2000 file servers to block unsigned drivers. D. Do nothing. This is the default setting. The correct answer is configure the Windows 2000 file servers, Windows 2000 print servers, Windows 2000 professional computers, and Windows 2000 file servers to block unsigned drivers. Your network is configured as shown in the exhibit. Engineering and sales have DHCP installed up them. All the servers are Windows 2000 server computers that use TCP/IP as the only network protocol. The sales department uses one subnet and has servers named Salesl and Sales2. The engineering department uses another subnet and has servers named Engineeringle and Engineering2. Sales and Engineeringle are configured to act as DHCP servers. The router that joins the two subnets is not RFC 1542 compliant and does not support DHCP boot relay. You want to allow Sales and Engineeringle to support client computers on each other's subnets. What should you do? A. Set the router option in the DHCP scopes to 192.168.2.1 for Engineeringle and 192.168.1.1 for Salesl. B. On Engineering2 and Sales2 install routing and remote access and configure RIP as a routing protocol. C. On Engineering2 and Sales2 install and configure the DHCP relay agent service. D. Configure Engineering2 and Sales2 as DHCP servers without any scopes. The correct answer is on Engineering2 and Sales2 install and configure the DHCP relay agent service.